Good afternoon. Welcome to the Wellfleet Parking Task Force meeting of May 1st. We open, as always, with announcements and public comment. I don't know that we have any announcements or public comment other than surveys are coming out, but we'll get to that as we come along. Next is the minutes. Wayne, do you want to address this subject? Or?
I move that they be approved as written.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. Next on the agenda is update on surveys. We've got 4 different surveys running on. Wayne has been doing a lot of the work along with his subcommittee. So,
as has Denny. Denny's our grammar coach.
okay, go to it.
All right, well, I guess we're, at this point, the taxpayer survey is out. We've received probably close to 500 or 600 in the mail, handwritten, which we have to address how we're going to input. And as the last check, we had about 170 that were done online, but that could be a fair amount more. Bruce just got back from vacation. He'll check the new numbers. But it has been set up on the system such that we can input these that we have that are manual. I would say half of them that have come in have comments. And I don't know if you want to go through it now or later in the meeting, but Denny took the comments for the first 170 and we categorized them as to what the general comments were. And I think that's what we also have to decide. How are we going to document what comments people made? Do you provide a site that has every possible comment, or do you just sort of generalize them? If people want to look at them, they can. We're going to have the surveys scanned in for public access purposes.
Well, I'd like to talk about that.
Yeah, okay, all right, good. So I guess let's just start with that since it's the topic. Do you want to talk about scanning or what?
Yeah,
first?
I do. I'm trying to think that scanning thing through. We've told people that the surveys are going to be confidential.
Right.
And I don't see the benefit of having all those saved over time. And I think, going for summary results, and we'll be doing our job, and we'll go from there. And I think that applies to the other surveys, too.
Okay.
And it's an awful lot of work. I know you had proposed it, but I'd like to hear from others as to whether they think we ought to be saving copies of individual surveys.
Can I just say why I thought it's not necessarily?
Yep.
2 reasons. One, stuff happens. These are going to be floating between people doing work. Files can get lost. Files can disappear. Files can get wet. Secondarily, and it's an important part of it. I'd hate to have to go out and do it again because we'd have to do a special mailing if somehow something happened to the documents. That's the primary reason. The second reason is I think if we do get into making some recommendations, there are people that are probably, I think it's public record, even though they're confidential because there's no names on any of them, so it is confidential.
We can establish our own records management system.
Okay, well, that's fine.
And I would suggest that we enter the data into the system.
Okay.
That'll be sufficient. But
All right.
What I usually recommend to companies, because this always comes up, what do you do with the comments, is that the people who have decision-making authority, which would be the committee, reads them.
Yep.
That somebody does a content analysis, picks out the major themes, and then does a tally of how many comments come into each thematic category, and that they're just available so that the members of the committee have a feel for the kinds of things that people are saying. But to distribute them, that would violate confidentiality, because somebody could say, oh, this is out in public record, and now people know I've said that because I always say that, or that kind of thing. So you're safer not doing it.
Okay, that's great.
Other,
Courtney and I will be very happy not have to be high-speed scanning 500 documents, or 700, I guess, at this point.
any other committee members on that?
Yeah, no, I think that's a good approach on the different categories, but I would like to have a chance to look at every fifth one. I'm not going to read some huge
A little
closer to the
number,
mic,
but it'd be
please.
nice to get
You have to
some
go through
idea
them
of-
just to categorize them.
No, I've been through all of
Yeah.
them as I open them, and we've captured the bulk of them, and there's a consensus. I mean, even when we can hand this out if you want and go
Yeah,
over it now.
Go
But
ahead.
all right.
Okay.
run down.
Let me do it.
So can we all look at them now as they're coming in? Okay.
You can
was
look
my-
at the surveys, but I think Wayne and I have captured the bigger issues, so, on this, if you want to look at the surveys.
Okay, so,
And Wayne has done a little bit of a categorization, which certainly is better than what I did, so.
Well, you did the hardest part of it, is reading them all. So I just, you can read down, I don't know if you want to go through each one, but there's, various suggestions about adding a bus, whether they want it or whether they don't want it, where they want it to come from, where do they want it to go to. There are suggestions for added parking both on the bay side and the beach side, or the ocean side. Some commentary about the attendance. Those in italics are ones that I just found. The ones that are in bold, regular print is what Denny found. There's suggestions to improve the bathrooms. Some people feel the beachcombers arrangement is unfair. I'm not sure I agree with them there, but, and more bike racks, Cape Cod Rancho Seashore cell service they talked a lot about, which I think is, what's the status on that? I should probably just give you the mic so you guys don't have to keep getting them down. Yeah. Yes. Well, I think last time you mentioned that they were in progress of doing the fiber optics.
Well, the towns, not just Wellfleet, but the Outer Cape
Yeah.
towns, are in discussion with the fiber optic people from One Cape. It's not going to happen this year.
Okay,
If it happens next year, I'll be surprised. I'm thinking it's one of those 3-year projects.
okay.
Will there be better cell service out there this year?
Nope.
Nope, okay.
Well, I shouldn't say that. The chief of police went to a meeting, conference, something, and discovered that some of the state cruisers, state police cruisers, have mini repeaters in each cruiser that helps the radio reception. They're $26,000 a piece. So that will not just be a casual purchase.
Yep, okay.
I also passed out, which we've talked about already, there was one gentleman that's an architect or an engineer that sent in his plan to increase the size of the Whitecrest Beach parking lot and proposed access to that. But we're not at that point yet. There was a suggestion for family stickers, which I think Eastham or Truro, someone has that, where you can buy one and anyone in the family can use it.
That won't fly in Wellfleet.
I don't think so, but they felt
They
that.
have family cars.
Yeah, I know, that's it. There was a suggestion that renters only get one sticker. I guess people were saying, people rent next to me and they get 4 stickers for the house. I don't know if you can control that, how many stickers each rental contract gets.
Well, I would only be open to discussing that if we're going to limit the number of resident stickers that a household gets as well.
Right. Should we go through all these at this point, Danny, or wait till we're finished?
If there's anything you want to highlight, that's fine.
oh, this is a lot.
Limit the day passes, maybe to just weekdays. Newcomb, there was a lot of talk about, a lot of comments about Newcomb. It's basically, people are happy the way it is, and they aren't happy with the cheaters that cut the line and drop people off and that type of thing.
Right.
And they suggested some form of noting people at the cutoff that there is a line, so they don't go down and have to turn around, which is kind of dangerous, but I don't know how you do that.
Which cutoff would that be?
Right, well, right at the entrance.
Rose
to-
Hill, the top of
At
Rose
OBD?
Hill Road?
Yeah,
Yeah. Maybe a sign?
You'd have to station someone up there, though,
yeah.
On the few occasions, if I could, Mr. Chairman,
No, Please open
that
meeting.
there's been a problem at Newcomb's and we don't want people, it took 3 people to manage that intersection.
Yeah, I can believe it can.
And that's quite an additional lump chunk of personnel time.
One major suggestion there was on the peak days, weekends and whatever days it's hot or whatever, when there's long lines, they suggested that the attendants stay longer than 4 or 4:30, so that the residents have a better shot at getting in, because at 5, till 5 or 5:30, that was the suggestion.
Summer, everyone will be working until 5, if we can convince them it's a good idea.
Okay, good. No one seemed to be concerned. Everyone basically just said you have to learn to work around it. And on the bus situation, everyone, there were a number of comments about no buses on Ocean View Drive, which we know we can't do, but has anything been done with the bus companies this year? There was some talk about having permits in advance or things like that.
Nothing, we're waiting for the recommendations from this committee.
Okay, well, we'll find out once we get some data, I guess.
Maybe we should have. One.
And a lot of no expansions, a lot of no additional parking. We have enough. We have to protect the charm and beauty of, and you can't overrun the beaches. Some comments about increasing the pond parking, which we know can't be done. A few people registered the concern about not only the traffic from the beaches, but when the pot shops open, what kind of traffic are they going to generate? Additional people coming down Route 6.
I'm not responsible for
You're
pawn
not,
shops.
absolutely not. So that's what they were saying, that we got to,
Wayne, can I just, about the pond parking, Suzanne, it's my understanding that the ponds are up to capacity anyway, is that?
The parking that's provided at each pond is not an exact science, but it's what the best estimate of capacity parking by the Conservation Department and other authorities who deal with this. Our goal is to prevent any of the Wellfleet ponds from turning into Walden Pond.
Well, you also want to control the amount of coliform bacteria that is in there.
And we do that by limiting the bodies and therefore the cars.
And frequently, Long Pond is the first one to fall out.
Actually, if I could, just for a minute, one of the problems with Long Pond is not so much bodies in the water as runoff from the road during rain events. So there was a site inspection a couple of weeks ago there, DPW, Town of Wellfleet staff, Seashore staff, and the beach will be renourished, and there'll be appropriate placement of straw bales and other means to stop the water runoff or redirect the water runoff. So I think this summer should be better water quality at Long Pond because of that. Because it's predicted to be a rainy summer, so I'm anticipating road runoff.
Okay.
the sort of shuttles, when people didn't want the shuttle, they mentioned the things that we've already talked about, the fact that I'm not going to get on a shuttle with my kids and my boogie boards and that type of thing, and they thought about the traffic issues, and they thought it was just regenerating more people, and we already have enough people at the beach. Others, a few said they would use it if it was available, but they wanted it to be free to town residents or town taxpayers. Lot of comments about taxpayer-only lot or section, or residents-only section, or residents-only time, up till a certain time or after a certain time. They thought the need to increase the ticket or have more ticketing. I guess basically at the beaches. There was a little bit of mention downtown. And signage, the technology, a lot of people were for some type of real-time parking data or a website type situation where they could look and see how the beaches are filling up. And I think that pretty much covers it.
Okay.
Well, there was a lot of, I think so far I've seen 5 or 6 mention of sharks, but, that's not our problem either.
I don't think it's apples and oranges.
It
Sharks
is.
and
No,
parking.
they were just saying that, we may not have a parking problem because of sharks, or we may have a parking problem because more people come to watch the sharks, that kind of thing. That's really nothing we can address yet. I think that,
And how many of these did you receive? Is
this is based on about, of the 500 or 600 we have, it's based, about 200 that had comments. This is what it's based on. Initial 140 and then another 60 I've done
So
since
we've
then.
already received 500?
500 written and 170 online.
Wow.
So that's out of 3,500 that was sent out.
Well, that's,
It's a great
it will
response.
be a statistical, hopefully.
And then we'll get into the Marina one, which Joe will cover. I guess the question is, how do we manually input this data? Bruce has been good enough to set up a mechanism where a person can go in on a computer and input all these. We have talked about it briefly, and we think it's a two-person job.
Yeah, absolutely.
One person reading, the other person inputting. I don't know if we bother to capture the comments in text or just, as we've already talked, just leave them there and generalize them as we do. I think when we read these, both Danny, I don't know how much, I just quickly read them. I mean, some of them have 2 or 3 comments in one. So I think it should, when they do that, they should probably be a little more cautious about somehow taking this sheet and ticking how many people have it. You'll see some numbers here. That's how many Denny found with that response.
Right.
I didn't bother to, this time around, I just added a new one if it was new.
And it was easily confused.
Yeah, it is, yeah, the people, and a lot of people, well, a couple of people wrote almost letters,
Right.
and attached them, you know?
Well,
I think we should record the results of the questions themselves, not the comments, because we're doing the comments this way.
Yeah, okay,
So in the survey and the survey data that we'll use on SurveyMonkey, we just collect
Yeah.
the responses to the individual questions. I had a question about that. Are we going to try to capture response by response, or are we going to summarize? You know, question 1, this many people said, I'm a taxpayer, or a renter, or year-round, or whatever it was. Are we going to say, of the 500, we had 300 people do that? Or are we going to go through each one and capture that data?
I think that was the intent, so
Yeah.
that when we go to the town, we can say, you know, the general consensus is the residents want more parking and the non-residents don't, or whatever. I
or
mean,
whatever, yeah.
Well, there'll be probably a variety of analyses we'll do. One will be just the frequency and percentages for each item, how many people said this, how many people said that. Then we'll also do some cross-tabulations of the residents, how many people had experienced parking issues at this beach, and of the non-residents, how
Yeah.
many, you know, that kind of thing. So we'll do.
That's what I was hoping we'd
Yeah,
get.
we'll do an extensive analysis, and we can talk about what analyses need to be done. I've had a lot of experience doing that on SurveyMonkey.
Okay.
So, Wayne, do you need help?
I definitely need volunteers.
Because
or
we need, I assume, an even number of people.
2 people, and yeah, you can split up the pile if you want it. I don't know, how many people can be accessing that
I can,
portal at a time? Just one? The one that has it so it doesn't record the URL so you can. put
Yeah,
in-
I mean, how many people can work off of it at the same time? Like if I log onto my computer and Wayne logs on his computer and,
If you have that manual URL, the manual entry URL, you know, hundreds of
The-
people could
yeah.
enter in data.
Oh, all right, okay.
oh, good.
Well, it's up, and the other thought someone had mentioned earlier, there's the senior tax work-off people that,
Janet, go ahead.
but I'm not sure how much
We-
money's left there.
Thank you. Still working on it.
Use-
No,
use-
nope,
use-
I'm going to figure, okay, it's on. So, yeah, I was going to suggest, and I would do that for you, go into town hall and ask, who's in charge of the senior tax work-off?
Bob Nazarian.
Okay, so I could ask him for you unless you want to do it.
Well,
I go in there
yeah, it'd be
plenty of
probably
times.
coming better from you, because I've,
Yeah,
There's a process for senior tax work-off, and it involves the committee or the department that needs the assistance to write up a job description of what will be done, and then it's submitted to the town administrator. I have the form, Wayne, I can
Yeah.
send it to you, for approval, and then it goes to Bob Nazarian for staffing.
well, if we can do it amongst ourselves, I mean, it's,
I think
know.
we probably could, but
yeah,
so my question would
maybe we have a
be
party and just do it one night, you know?
to Bruce,
Can't have
is
a
how
quorum.
hard is it, how difficult would it be for a volunteer? You know, would it be hard for them to enter the data, or confusing?
I think it's pretty easy. It'll be pretty easy, but you probably want them to fill out a form or something saying that everything they read is going to be kept
Right.
anonymous or confidential.
Well, if you want to pursue that, Suzanne, and let us know whether there's capacity.
I'll send the form to you, Wayne, because you're going to be the requester for the
Okay.
committee.
okay, and in the meantime, if you do want to get like four of us together, and I'm not sure if it would be considered a quorum since it would be sort of a working entry meeting, we're not deliberating anything, we're just putting things in, I'm happy to do it. I think it's a question we can ask. I think that we could get away doing it one night.
Well, we certainly do it
Together.
in groups of 2.
Right, okay,
I'll help too.
yeah, okay.
All right, great. All right, well, I'll pursue the other just in case something falls through, because we have to do the marina too, which is,
Well, that's pretty much done.
but we have to input it so that we
Yeah,
can use
that's true,
survey.
but the percentages are there.
Okay, well, we'll wait till your report, but if that's another one, and then the merchants will only have as maximum of 50 that we have to do, and then I don't know how many will come in from the beach.
Remains
Survey.
to be seen.
Yeah, well, we'll get to that, but that's the display we're gonna have down there, so.
Okay.
If I could,
Yes, please.
you had said you're going to put the display outside?
It can go anywhere, it's mobile. You can-
Okay, that's good, because if it's outside and it rains and we
Oh,
don't
no.
realize it, it's going to get trashed, so maybe it should live inside the building.
That's fine. I have signage for outside. The question is, how do you want it to read? You know, while you wait, do you want to take our beach survey, or just please take the beach survey inside? I don't know, the line gets pretty long on weekends, I believe, right? Out into the parking lot or not?
The time to do it is when they're all waiting for their beach fire
Beach
permits.
sticker, yeah, the fire.
Because they're trapped for hours before we open.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, that's a good time to go down early in the morning.
So then it would have to be outside, though, because the door's locked,
Yeah.
right?
Well, that's,
Well, we'll talk about that. We'll
Yeah.
talk about logistics. I'm
Yeah, well,
open to anything, but I think that would be a good time, because they're reading the paper, drinking their coffee, and they all bring chairs. They're very comfortable.
Okay. Well, I'll go through it with you, but we made it as mobile as possible, and
okay.
it'll all be bolted down and protected, that the stand has weights on it, and I can put more weights on it to keep it from blowing away if it's windy.
Okay.
Are we done on taxpayer survey?
I think we're done on
issues?
the taxpayer survey issues.
Okay, and we know what we're gonna do, and
Mm-hmm.
Wayne, do you wanna call people to
Yeah,
get some help?
I'll
and-
set up some
Yeah.
kind
Or
of,
assign
get something
assign
together.
us
Yeah,
task?
I'd be willing to help. with
okay,
Me too.
good.
Yep.
All right, let's pursue it that way,
We can get it
All
done.
right. Beach permit office you were getting into.
Yeah, we got into that. The survey is completed, or the format, you have a copy of the redlined. A few changes we made. The most major one was, not major, but we changed the name of LeCount Hall to McGuire's Landing, because we're going to be using the map I handed out on the, this is a typical clipboard. It'll have the survey on the front. When you take it off, there'll be a note here to, put another survey and reload it and put it back in the thing. There's a box there that the surveys will be deposited in. We have extra pens. The display there has extra surveys, and it has our presentation to the select board on one side of the sheet of paper, and on the other side, it has a copy of things that we've accomplished to date that they can read while they're waiting and drinking their coffee also.
There's one correction. It's McGuire Landing.
What did I have?
There's an S on it in the
Oh, all
draft.
right. Okay.
Because it's Dr. McGuire, and the deed of gift
Well, that's good to know.
granted to the town says it shall be called in perpetuity McGuire Landing.
Okay. And as you've seen, we've taken out the word several, many, few, because a few grammar coaches, not our grammar coaches, indicated that it should be reversed, so we just took that out. And the rest is pretty much as we've presented to you in the past. So that will be available. We're probably going to start by printing up, 200, 500 maybe, or something, and then see how it goes. And I'll make a point of getting down there every day to empty the box, or you'll have a key, we'll have a key. It locks up just for, not for security, but just so that they don't blow away.
Are you gonna do colored
That's the
printing?
question. I guess it's just a cost of printing. I mean, I can do either. I'll be glad to do on my home printer if it's
I think
I guess-
it's cheaper to go to Staples or something.
they're 23 cents a piece.
For colored copy, yeah.
Yeah, for color copy,
Two-sided.
two-sided.
Yeah.
Did you ask Thompson's?
I haven't been there yet, no. I didn't even explore that yet, because I didn't know how we were gonna go about doing that. But I know that there's been some discussion that, I talked, who did I talk to at the town hall, Jenny?
Joe,
Joe, yeah, and I guess the bill for stuffing yours flyer and our flyer came in well in excess of what they thought it was gonna be, so. There's no money, basically, right now is the problem. One thing I was gonna suggest to Dan, I don't know if this is feasible, but there is some, I think $30,000 or $40,000 left over for the engineering for Whitecrest. And I don't know if you could say the surveys are needed to decide whether we're gonna whether you
Yeah,
could use
it's so
some of that
little.
money.
I will say that the beach program paid for its own stuffer and stuffing.
Right, right.
We didn't pay for, the town hall didn't pay for it.
Yeah. I was told the number was $650, but I don't know if that includes everybody's stuffing or what it was, but,
I think I paid about that for the beach stuffing.
all right, so ours was probably another $650, so. And the selectmen were nice enough to take it out of their budget so far, so, but, she's, at any rate, we've been told to, cut spending, so I have cut spending. We haven't charged anything yet. All this stuff is, I'll pay for. I'm not gonna worry about it.
So can I ask a question? So I was told before the meeting that there is money for a mailing. Is this part of that mailing?
It is, the original mailing, yes.
Separate things?
This is not the mailing, this is separate. What I'm talking about now is the beach thing is a separate item. The mailing was the cost of printing and the cost of folding and stuffing.
Okay, so it's separate, but, yeah, I
That-
would think
that-
there'd be some money.
That relates to the business survey, and it's only about 50 of them, because the rest were going by internet, so.
Right. We couldn't do that. It was questioned why we did the stuffer, and I think the rationale behind it is that way no one can say they didn't get a survey.
Yep.
We can tell everybody in town, you're a resident or a taxpayer, you got a survey.
Okay.
Unfortunately, not many of them use the Survey Monkey direct entry, so.
I'm surprised,
so-
well, at least they returned them, though.
Wayne,
Yeah,
would you
no,
like approval of this form
Yeah,
of the
Yeah,
survey?
let's,
So, yeah, of the business survey.
subject to the change of McGuire's Landing.
Requires.
Oh, excuse me, to McGuire, so moved.
Second? I'll second it, what the heck. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. All right, so that's off the list. And I would suggest just black and white printing. I have no desire to look pretty,
Agree.
No,
so.
that'll be fine.
Okay, the next one on the agenda is the business survey.
Business survey you have, it is completed. We made some modest changes to it, which we highlighted and we've approved it at the subcommittee level, so I don't know if we have to spend a lot of time on it. If anybody has any questions about the redlining, let me know. The yellow portion you see highlighted there will only appear on the mailed copies. It will not be on the one that's on the web. That's suggesting they use the website as opposed to mailing it in. We had talked about putting in a return address envelope. I guess we've decided not to do that. And we've decided, and not provide them with a stamp, I guess.
I was confused by that second paragraph.
Eh,
What is that? If possible, we would prefer if you could complete the survey by typing this online link into the URL into a uniform resource locator box, not a browser search box.
I made the mistake the time when I typed in the web link you gave us to a Google search bar, and it takes you to SurveyMonkey's homepage. So I'm saying don't put it in a search box. Put it in, you have to put it in, type it into a URL, the top line. So wipe out whatever's there, and you have to type it in. Maybe I'm wrong, but
And this is only going on the
40,
the 47 that are being mailed out, that paragraph.
yeah.
Okay.
Maybe you should just say, if, we would prefer that, if possible, or if you prefer, maybe if we should say if you prefer,
Yep.
you could complete this survey by copying this,
They can't copy it, it's coming in hard print.
all right, by typing this link to your URL box.
Or just using the link below.
I wouldn't say a browser search, yeah, just use this URL, which will be located at the top of your web browser. I think,
People, I think it's confusing the way it is now. There's the link, use it. I mean,
yeah, just put on
too
this
much
link and just say this is the link. And
Okay.
they would have to type that in anyway, and that would be the link.
So how do you want it worded? I'm a little confused. If possible, or if you prefer. I don't want to say if you prefer. We prefer, not them. I don't want
Yeah, I
to.
know.
How about it is preferable?
Yes, that's good. If you
It is preferable, if possible, that you use the
Link below.
This link below,
I'd just stop right there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which you should manually type in, because at least people my age, at least me, would have no idea what a ULR or a Uniform Resource Locator. That might as well be in Greek.
right,
That was my problem. I actually had to look it up to know
But I
what it
think if
meant.
you just
Right.
say type it in, most people do know where to
They'll
type it
figure it
in.
out sooner
Well,
or
it's a
later.
piece of paper, they won't be able to click on it.
right. They're going to have to type it in.
Okay,
The other thing we're
And if they have a
focusing,
problem, they can fill it out and send it to us.
So what about just keeping it really simple and saying, please use link below, or use link below?
Yeah, or if you prefer using the internet,
Not
use this link.
preferred, yeah.
You can find this on this link,
I would suggest that we leave the final wording to Wayne.
okay? Something like that.
Otherwise-
Otherwise, I make a motion that we approve all of the changes and get this going.
I would second.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any
Wayne,
further-
the only thing
further
in the
dis-
instruction is we don't want them to fill it out twice, the paper survey and
Yeah.
the link.
Right.
Yeah, I could put in lieu of mailing this in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those all sound like good suggestions.
I would say,
If
of
you
the
prefer
40 we're
using-
sending it to by mail, we'll be lucky if 10 go either way, because they're all people that are like working out of their houses, or it's, restaurants up on Route 6 and things that just.
Can we put in, if you're confused, call Wayne at this telephone number?
Call
I was putting
Suzanne.
your number.
Our tech assistant.
Yeah, for technical assistance.
Okay. So we have a motion on the table.
Yes, to approve. And it's been
Approve. All in
seconded.
favor?
Aye.
Okay, Wayne.
Okay, I
All right,
We're
done.
on with that.
Good.
What's
Next is the marina survey.
That's what I want to hear.
Joe and Will.
For me.
Will.
Thank you.
We have received 218 who responded, and I think that's pretty much all that are going to respond at this date. We eliminated 18 in the tabulation because they park elsewhere, Indian Neck, Lieutenant Island, so forth, which left 200 which were tabulated, and you can see the percentage breakdown there. So we have a 48% response. The comment section was a small number. People either stated positive things about the harbor master and his staff working to accommodate them. The other comments were negative about local businesses using the marina parking to accommodate their customers. These numbers are not definitive. I think they should be viewed as showing trends. A good number of people did not answer all the questions. And a lot also didn't turn it over and do page 2, even though we had over at the bottom of the survey. So I think it's somewhat flawed. The other issue is that I think the whole complexion of the issue of parking there is going to change with the advent of dredging. The demand is going to be much higher. So I think, the results of this survey have to be tempered with that in thought, and it really has to be done again in a few years when we have dredging. As we can see, most people are able to park now, and again, it comes down to the lack of demand, and I think that it is viewed as to a large degree, a municipal parking lot. Will?
Yeah, that was my comment, that I don't see, looking at this, that there's any need to change anything right now. But once the dredging is done, it could be a whole different kettle of fish, and you certainly got a lot of different constituencies here. Now, maybe they've always been here, I don't know, but since the Pearl has opened up again, that was closed for many years, there's a lot of businesses in town that now view the pier as their parking or available to their customers, and boy, it's gonna be unhappy campers once if spaces are reserved. However, people are paying significant amount of money to use the facilities for the boat. So,
I think the other realistic variable is when we get into the heart of the summer, and the weather is good, and the tide is favorable, and you look at a weekend when there's a local wedding nearby, then we get complaints from boaters.
Can I,
Chair, if I'm sorry. I agree with Joe. It is a handful of times during the summer when everything converges. And it's like the parking overflow at Whitecrest. Usually weekends are the only issue. But it will, back in the day when you could get in and out before an hour each side of high tide, it was much busier. The boats were lined up to launch for hours all the way down the center. It was part of the whole experience. So I agree. You might get away with it this summer, but once it's dredged, maybe an annual survey of users at the pier to get a better trend than just a snapshot of 1 year.
I mean, to follow up on that, when the demand is high with favorable weather and other activities and so forth, and people are lined up like that, I mean, one of the harbor master's staff is tied up most of the day directing traffic. And there are issues, as we know, at the launching ramp with people breaking down and people having problems. And,
Directionally challenged people.
you know, much to the delight of all the rubberneckers sitting there and enjoying watching it.
Sheila?
I just want to say, even though it may indicate that there's not really a problem now, there's indications that there is a problem for 21% of the people. I mean, that's a large amount of people. So you have 21% saying they were not always able to find a parking at the marina.
For pleasure.
This is for pleasure, and that's pleasure people. And even commercial has a 3.5 where they have, that's, considering they're a small amount of parking there. Then it says, how many times do you, during the week where you're not able to find parking? Well, there's 14% that say 3 or more times they could not find parking. And what do you do when you can't find a parking space? Well, 35% circle around, 17% try to park at another beach, and 7% go and leave. So if I was having my business down there, I'm saying there's a certain amount of people I'm not capturing to come into my business or what have you, not just at the marina.
These are boaters.
I know they're boaters. These are boaters, but there is a conversation, I think, that since this isn't a crisis right now, but we can see there is a problem for these boaters, it's going to get worse with the marina. I think one of our recommendations would be to advise the Board of Selectmen and the town administration to start talking and start engaging in conversations with the businesses in that area to say that this is not going to be able to be done as easy as it has been. And, there is a precedent now of somebody renting space from the town for parking, a couple of places. And, that might have to be a hard conversation for the Board of Selectmen. but I think that would be one of my recommendations coming from this board.
In
So
looking-
I'm just going to interrupt because, well, this is, we're waiting for your job.
Yes,
right?
we
This is for
understand,
your
but,
findings, you know?
but now that you're here and you're already hearing this.
No, this is one reason
Right.
when people say there's no parking problem.
Yeah.
We're ahead of this over a year ago. We've been talking about this, so we
Right.
need to get these
So now we have
findings.
some, you
Yeah.
have some, you have concrete numbers to help you
Yeah.
have the conversation.
One of the issues I think that should be revealed is that when dredging does occur, we are going to retrieve about 50 additional moorings that we presently do not have, that existed years ago when the harbor was dredged. Now, that's significant because of the Marina Enterprise Fund and the need to generate revenue for the Enterprise Fund so that the marina does not have to come to the town's general treasury looking for money. So we're looking at an increase of 50 boaters. They're not going to be there all at the same time, but it certainly is another factor to consider when we look at parking there.
That's about $50,000 then, too.
Excuse me,
Oh,
Mr. Chair, I have to excuse myself. Sorry.
Mr. Chair, if I could. I already shared this with Denny. It's my light bulb moment of the week. Beach Sticker House. We're there creating more need for parking during the busiest part of the season. And we don't need to see the water to conduct our business. And I've always said that if you can find me a place that has parking and enough room for my people and their stuff and the people to wait, blah, 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 I'd move. Well, there's a nice little paved area where the temporary police station was that has a tight tank that can be used for up to 6 months a year. So there's septic, there's electric and water there. And my proposal now is to put a modular building on that location and move the beach sticker operation to that location. So to that end, I've been talking to Dan about it. I've got to check the transfer of property from the town to the housing authority and make sure I'm not stepping on housing authority property at this point. Well, I mean, it's open for discussion. And I've been getting prices on modular buildings. And at first I thought we'd rent and then have a trailer, but I think it would be in the town's interest to actually put a modular building there for beach purposes and other purposes. We could use it for up to 6 months a year. And I'm going forward with putting that into the capital budget request in June for fiscal '21. So by the time the dredging's done and the beach office isn't there, the parking might be a little less onerous in the summer.
And we also had some suggestions of some restriping and all that we can follow up on as part of the report, so.
yeah,
Although I must say that the parking that exists there now was done by an engineering firm when we repaved. I'd be surprised if they were able to squeeze out many more.
Could you squeeze some out where the corral is now if they put the gas tanks adjacent to the existing beach sticker office, the above-ground tanks?
Mhm.
Well, the thing with the fence around it, it looks like a corral.
The
Where
other
the fill location for the underground tanks.
And the gentleman who owns the Holden Inn also recommended, he gave us a plan that showed that, I've got a copy here, there's like 14 additional spaces could be generated, if you took out the turnaround at the end, but I guess we need that.
We need to be careful on that,
Yeah.
but that's what I'm suggesting. Janet, go ahead.
So with the dredging, which will 2 to 3 years for it to be really done, hopefully, will that, so we're talking about painting new lines, will the equipment or the workers, will that affect any kind of painting? Like, they're not going to really mess up the pier at all necessarily, so we could do
No.
improvement.
Once the barges are in the water, they stay there throughout the project. And because the silt is being disposed of in the bay, there's no need for trucks to come to haul it away.
So there would be no dewatering on the pier, right?
No.
Good.
You know, I have just a random thought on, because Janet mentioned you're looking for a recommendation from us. And right now, if someone said to me, well, because obviously if there's not enough space for the boaters, you need to reserve parking spaces. If someone said, well, how many are there going to be? I don't know. And query whether we'll need to go through a season where the harbor is now fully open and see how bad it is. And to do anything in advance of that, it could be irresponsible to the businesses. You know, I don't know. It's just a thought that it may be hard to come up with solutions such as that is, if you don't really know what's on the ground.
And if the demand is not there that we anticipate will be there in the future.
Right.
So businesses are going to want to be accommodated while there's space there.
And that's not a very, hate to have a mess, but maybe that's what, until you have the mess, you don't know what you're dealing with.
Well, I think that's what we're trying to do just generally here, Will, with trying to get the survey data on.
Yeah, no, I just,
Yep.
I'm just saying, before a proposed solution is put forth, you might need to reach that stage.
Okay, enough on the marina?
Nice
Okay.
work, very nice.
Yep, thank you very much.
Nice summary.
I have something here called review of status report that Wayne did.
Yeah, I think I gave that as a handout. This is the back side of the handout that we're planning to, I'm suggesting we have at the pier. If people are standing in line, they might be interested in what we've done so far and what we're trying to do. We can just put the report to the town selectmen that's in the annual report only, or we can put this on the back. But this is, basically, it's something that Dale put together earlier on, and I just updated it recently to include what we've done in the last 2 or 3 months since the first draft was done, so.
I'd suggest that it's probably going to be the basis of what we say to the select board when we go to the select board, which I'm hoping it'll be the end of May and early June. And let me try to recast it, and we'll get it around to people beforehand, so you don't have to jump
Review.
and react right now.
Yeah,
So,
something to review.
yep.
Um,
Correspondence, there really hasn't been anything new. I've sent you the copies of the emails that we've had. So we'll just do that. And while we have the opportunity, D there, 3D, is consider recommending expanding the parking task force by one person. We have one person in mind, but I just want to talk with the rest of you, make sure you're okay, that one person being Mr. Catcher. So everybody okay with that?
Perfect. I mean, all right, perfect example. Right now, we don't, okay,
Do we, I'm fine with it. Do we have a quorum
that's what I was just gonna say.
since Sheila's left?
Oh,
You do, because you're
sorry,
7, your body of 7. But if,
Oh, 8.
does your, they're 8, so you want to change to 9?
Want to change?
Yes.
Yes.
So you don't have a quorum? It doesn't matter whether there's,
that's
Haven't changed
no,
yet.
but a quorum for 8 people is 5.
that's right.
So we can't vote on anything else.
Nope, okay.
I thought you voted it last meeting.
We talked about it, and then Denny said I had to put it on the agenda.
It hadn't been on the agenda, so I wanted to make sure it was on the agenda.
It's,
But there's no reason that we have to have a vote by ourselves for the selectmen to do something. If they should decide in their own wisdom that that would be a good thing to do, we certainly wouldn't object.
Yeah.
Is your charge, does your charge specify 8?
yes.
Yes, it
So
does.
that would, and then, so you'd have to go to the board, as far as select board.
Would our quorum still be 5 at 9?
Yes.
Yes.
That's what we want. Yeah, this is the first time we've had a quorum problem. We almost had a quorum problem before, so.
But Bruce has done a nice job helping us out. He's interested.
Yep.
And so,
Yeah.
you know, I agree that we probably should not be taking votes, but
Yeah, I think what we could do is just put it the very first thing at the next meeting, and then vote Bruce in and have him come and join us.
You can't vote Bruce in, Will. It has to go to the Board of Selectmen to change
I
the
know,
number
but
on your
I'm
committee.
assuming,
You can't vote him in. Only the Select Board can do that.
No, it would be
That's
the
right.
committee's recommendation
That's-
to the select board.
Oh, this is a recommendation, okay.
just a recommendation, but that was my point, that if the select board should decide to do that all on their own, and without having a recommendation from us, they can do that.
Good.
That's it.
I sense you get a sense of the board, Janet, that it won't come back to bite you if you do it now.
And I think the other thing, well, it's not on the agenda, so I can't do it. We can't disband the subcommittee, right? Until we put it on the agenda?
Right,
Okay.
okay. Okay, well, let's, we're not doing anything right now. I'll tell you what I'm up to by looking at the agenda. And probably, I think we can't even take a vote to disband.
That's right, do we have to stay here? I'll just
So I think the meeting's over.
call Sheila up and get her back here.
I think the meeting's over.
Yeah,
So,
all right, well, we've,
thank you very much.
Thank
and
you.
Thank you, Tom, for recording this. And we'll be back at it again. My thought is that we'll be in a couple, on our regular schedule of twice a month, unless I, contact you and hear otherwise. So, thank you.